The Chicago Bulls going in that 98 season, man. What, they already won 2. They knew it was the last dance. Jerry Krause, a man who has become a villain after dying, right? I think a lot of people maybe in Chicago didn't like the man. Maybe a lot of people who have met him and shook hands with him and saw the way he operated didn't like him. Maybe the players that had to play for teams that Jerry Krause put together, both in baseball and in basketball, didn't like him. But now the whole world learned of this Jerry Krause guy who told Phil Jackson, it doesn't matter if you go 82-0, this is going to be your last ride with Chicago Bulls. And the Chicago Bulls last night did what they did for, 6 out of 8 times in that magical run. They win another championship. They celebrate. Then, obviously, another guy, Jerry Reinsdorf,
yep.
The owner of the White Sox and of the Bulls. He tried to throw himself in to be the most hated man at the end of the season, talking about how we wouldn't have been able to do it. Then Michael Jordan says, we would have been able to get Kerr back. We would have been able to get this. Pippen would have taken some convincing because that guy had been screwed basically his entire career. But he thought we could have gotten everybody back. Reinsdorf said, we would have done it if we could have done it. Sounds like a little bit of controversy there towards the end. But the one person I think it's going to be hard for me to not hate is Jerry Krause in this whole thing, because Jerry Krause made that Bulls team. Jerry Krause is a man that should take credit for making that Bulls team. Now, granted, he's dead, but when he was alive, he should take credit for building that Bulls team. But all Jerry Krause wanted to do was move on. And I think the reason why I think The Last Dance was such a beautiful, probably the greatest documentary I've ever seen, with all things considered, the greatest documentary I've ever seen. The timing of it, right in the middle of a sports quarantine where no live sports are happening. This thing coming in on Sunday nights, giving everybody something to look forward to. That Sunday night time slot, by the way, whether it's Entourage, whether it's The Sopranos, whether it's a Game of Thrones, that Sunday night time slot is one that has been, revered for a long, long time. And this Chicago Bulls Last Dance has been something I've looked forward to every single week. And the last 2 episodes did not disappoint. Did I cry when it was done? No. I didn't cry. But I felt a great sense of knowledge about something I didn't know much about. I had no idea about the legacy and legendary stories of the Chicago Bulls team. And The Last Dance had access that you just could never expect a documentary to have. Inside looks at so many things. Inside the locker room, post-game, pre-game, gambling with one of the most electric human beings of all time, John Wozniak, who had an incredible mullet, gambling on quarters in the back. Just a chance to really see everything that was happening behind the scenes for Michael Jordan and this Chicago Bulls team. And then obviously the looks inside the not the American Dream, but yes, the American Dream team that kind of exposed the sport of basketball to the rest of the world. It was amateurs for a long time, then these dudes got involved, and we got a chance to see the behind the scenes. We got a chance to see Isaiah Thomas get kicked off of the squad because everybody hated him. Isaiah Thomas still has to live with that, but you're talking about Larry Bird and Magic and Michael and Pip and everybody basically in the history of basketball on the Dream Team, and Michael Jordan being that guy. I never understood why Michael Jordan was always talked about as being the greatest basketball player of all time. I wasn't a big basketball fan whenever Michael Jordan was playing basketball. In this Last Dance documentary series, dropped me in the deep end of the Michael Jordan thing and said, start swimming because the water is fine. You're going to learn a lot here. I learned that Michael Jordan has missed shots before, but I also learned that if you just slight him just a little bit, you are done for, you are dead. Was there one time in that entire Last Dance documentary that Michael Jordan was slighted and didn't get the best of the person?
No. Don't think so.
All the way until the very end. Somebody said something, they shouldn't have done it. B.J. Armstrong, he knew better. He knew better. He shouldn't have done it. And then you listen to all the other stories that are starting to come out. It's just like anytime he got that one little mental edge, he would go, we got a chance to take a glimpse inside the most competitive human of all time. I love The Last Dance. I'm thankful for The Last Dance. I'm bummed that it's over. I'll probably binge through it to kind of pick up the things that I didn't, notice the first time around. For instance, when Space Jam. When you're watching the movie Space Jam as a kid, which I did, which everybody did, it's like, okay, we're going to beat these monsters. Okay, we're going to do this thing. Little did I know there's a Jerry Krause shot in there with the little evil guy. Little did I know right across the street from where they were filming There was the best basketball games in the history of basketball games to get Michael Jordan back into basketball shape because he just quit mid-career after 3 championships to go play baseball. And everybody said he stunk at baseball. Turns out, would have been good at baseball. Started his baseball career with a 13-game hit streak after being off for 14 years. I mean, there's so many eye-opening, awakening moments throughout that entire thing that I just absolutely loved it. Very thankful for ESPN being able to package that, put it together out very early due to the set of circumstances, the world that we're in. But I learned a lot about old MJ. I learned a lot about the Chicago Bulls. And I'll tell you what, we talked about it a little bit. Zito might have got the best license plate.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
But the next 2 license plates in Illinois history are Michael Jordan.
The air one on
the Porsche. Just see you later. I'm out of here. The gambling conversations. I mean, you name it. It was The Last Dance from beginning to end was much watching. So sorry to interrupt. If you're a man watching this, you deserve to have long, great. And you can do that now with our friends at Roman. Right now, you go to GetRoman.com. You get $10 off and free 2-day shipping on Roman swipes, which are guaranteed to make you have longer, more fulfilling every time you get in the sack. Now, let's get back to the fornicating action. Dennis Rodman is a character that we will talk about in the second hour with Mark Madden, who was a commentator for WCW. That dude was a wild man, lived by his own set of rules, still does, and it's very easy to see why Jim Kong-un loved him, guy, because he didn't live in the real world that we all lived in. Middle of finals, screw it. I'm going to do WCW, NWO for life, skipping practice, missing in the middle of the finals. This isn't preseason. This isn't regular season where if you do this, you're still in a bad spot with the rest of your team. Middle of the finals, I'm out of here. Brother, I got to go with Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, and the boys for life. I mean, it's just an insane documentary that you could have never guessed would have the incredible access that it had. And I am very heartbroken that it's over because now what the hell are we going to do unless the world opens back up?
How about Michael meeting Larry after beating him as a coach in Game 7 in the hallway? That was awesome.
Go ahead, say it, Tom.
I don't remember the exact line, but I know he called him bitch.
Well, he said, you bitch. You.
Yeah.
That's what Michael Jordan said to Larry Bird.
Yes.
A lot of people were quoting that as what Larry Bird said to Michael Jordan. It was like, no, Michael Jordan beat Larry Bird. Then I would assume there was something Larry Bird was running against Michael Jordan that Jordan did not appreciate. So as soon as he beat him afterwards. By the way, shout out to Indiana. Whenever Michael Jordan and the Bulls were the big name team, you know who was? Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
You know when LeBron was down there in the Heat and they were battling, you know who was battling? The Indiana Pacers. A lot of people probably, call Indiana and Indianapolis, they fly over state or whatever. Hey, there's basketball in this town. Here. You want to talk about the home basketball? Indiana loves them some basketball, and that's why the All-Star Game's here next year, and that's why whenever Yahoo pops off about it, you got to say, hey, Yahoo. I will choke you out if I have to.
Did you find it interesting that even after Krause was basically supposedly the reason why that was the last dance, that was the last season, that he was still in the locker room celebrating with them after the final championship?
Well, the thing about Krause, okay, he was always celebrating and dancing, but he was always directing the attention somewhere else. So instead of the attention going to Michael Jordan, he was always, the organization. So, you're going to have to get in those moments of happiness and dance so you can, pitch your narrative as well. And I think it's you never leave your for show team looking for Mo team because you might end up with no team. And the Bulls have been rebuilding ever since Jerry Krause and Reinsdorf, or whatever the hell his name was, decided to break this team up after winning 6 out of 8. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that they could go get 7 for sure. I mean, it's just the only people that are happy about that whole thing was what, the Lakers, because they got Phil Jackson?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And aside from that, everything else kind of went to hell in a handbasket. And it all lies at the feet of Jerry and Jerry. And those two Jerrys are a bunch of stooge dumbasses.